So hello everyone, welcome to Secret Codename PROSERPINA. Now PROSERPINA is the Roman equivalent to Persephone. All right, and we're going to get into this message. We're going to look at where you were that's relevant pre-eclipse and where you're going to be after the eclipse and the why, which is the guidance coming from Kali. All right. As to how you can continue moving forward, because inside the why of the before and after is the lesson, right? So if you can embrace the why, embrace the lesson, you won't repeat it, right? So we're going to face the feminine with this. So Spirit, please, for those who resonated to Secret Codename PROSERPINA, where were they pre-eclipse? What was life looking like pre-eclipse? What insight can you give us, please? We've got the Queen of Swords. The Sun card. The Three of Wands. The Knight of Coin. The Four of Pentacles. And the Eight of Cups. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Wands. Top of the deck is the Strength card. All right. All right. So where we were before. The ego was roaring. The ego was roaring at the feminine aspect of the self, which wanted a victory, right? Who wanted this completion of a cycle, and the ego was saying no. And all of the guidance was coming in from the divine, right? All the signs and synchronicities with the Eight of Wands. The Queen of Swords is actually holding the cup or the urn that the Queen of Cups holds, and she's offering it up to the angel. And in replace of love, she wields the sword of truth instead, right? Letting that which is dead die and becoming more cold and calculated. So the mind was rather upset, right? The ego of the self was rather upset because it thought the heart wanted something that it didn't really want, right? And it was because truth. It was because of truth. I think the ego was confusing heart desire with what actually was wounding, right? That we were drawn to something or magnetized to something, and it was because of a wound. And now the ego is yelling at the heart space, like, why would you have me want this so much? Why would you have me feel all of these things to draw me to this, only to make me cold, right? And I think it's because it was confusing heart desire with trauma, right? And the desire to heal. That the feminine actually desired the mind, the patterns of the mind, the perspectives of the mind, the belief systems within the self that were created from trauma to heal. And so you found yourself putting love away, giving love to the divine to take from you so that you could be more clear of mind. And with the Sun card, The inner child is going on a journey, but the journey hasn't completely taken off yet. You know, the Three of Wands in this particular deck really speaks to, you know, being willing to do certain things that the divine nudges you to do, but not other things. Like, you'll do this if the divine guides you, and you'll do that if the divine guides you, but when the divine guides you to do this, oh, you won't do that, anything but that, right? Like, yeah, I can follow my path when it comes to my career. I could follow my path when it comes to my children, but love, oh, no, I won't do that. I won't be open to love, right? Like that kind of thing. Like, you're willing to admit truth on certain aspects and admit truth on other aspects, but not those truths, right? You're not willing to admit that. So it's like being willing to only go so far, and then calling the divine back and saying, no, I won't go that far though. I won't do that though. I'll do a lot of things, but I won't do that, right? Three of Wands. And so you're looking at the Knight of Pentacles, which is opportunity being found. And wanting to kind of hold power. Seeing that the universe gives you opportunities that you can reach for, that you can find certain things, certain value in life, and be respected for it, right? That other people would be able to offer you their coin because you already hold one, right? You hold one. And so they're willing to give you more because you hold one. And it's like you learned a lesson. And yet when other people come to you about that lesson, that's kind of the lesson that you're sitting on though. And you can drink all of the cups, but what happens is the cups become empty. And then what? Like, you've only gotten so far, right? The Eight of Cups, you see the figure drinking the last cup. All the other cups are empty on the ground. And so it's like you've gone as far as you can go with where you're at and the lesson that you've learned. And now there's more, right? There's more to learn. It's kind of like Persephone. If you think about it, she had learned so much being with Demeter or Ceres, right? Her mother. She had already learned so much, and she was sitting on those lessons, and people were worshiping her for who she was, but only to a certain extent. She wasn't as powerful until she was moved into the next step, right? Which was becoming the goddess of the underworld, right? The queen of the underworld next to Hades. Even if the lesson getting there was rough, right? Even if the becoming of who she was always meant to be was rough. And it's because she was sitting in this energy, happy and content with where she was. And other people, you know, worshiping her to an extent, but not to the extent that she deserved. And so you find yourself at this moment where you may have conquered a certain lesson, conquered a certain part of your journey, but there's more to your life than just that, right? You're bigger than that. Your energy is more powerful than that, right? And so I think that's where you find yourself pre-eclipse, is knowing that you've come a long way, but that there is genuinely more to go, you know? So let's see what the post-eclipse energy looks like, because you're leaving off at the Eight of Cups, which you know that there's more to life because something is left unfulfilled. There's still a hole somewhere. You feel that sense of there's more than this. but you're kind of in a comfort zone. So let's see. What insight post-eclipse for secret coding PROSERPINA, please, Spirit? What does after look like? We've got the 9 of Cups, the Page of Pentacles, the 4 of Pentacles. What else? We've got the 4 of Pentacles out twice now. The 8 of Wands is out twice now. We've got the Devil card and the 5 of Pentacles. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Pentacles. Top of the deck is the 3 of Swords. All right. All right. So now, with the three of Swords in the After Tarot, there's healing that's taking place, right? Where you let go of love in favor of truth and calculation and analysis, right? Cold, hard facts. Cutting truth with the Queen of Swords. I think you've allowed yourself space and time for your heart to heal. But now where you're at with the Ace of Pentacles, it's having to remove that which eats or destroys the beauty of things. You know, the hand that is usually holding the coin has picked up what is a Japanese beetle. Now, Japanese beetles, because we see the rose garden in the background, there's all these roses in the background. Well, Japanese beetles eat them. They will destroy roses. If you're a gardener, you know Japanese beetles love and will destroy roses. And so it's like holding up the perpetrator, the destroyer of the beauty, for what it is, right? Identifying that which would destroy the opportunity to start on a solid foundation. So I think that you have been or will be, right? Because this is after. I think that you will find yourself in a space where you're of service to the divine, and that in that service to the divine will also serve you, right? When you listen to the divine listens to you. And I think the seeds of opportunity that you're planting it's something that the old souls that come after you will benefit from. It's like that saying goes, it's like planting a tree knowing you'll never sit under its shade, but that it will serve its shade with someone else. I think that you're leaving behind seeds of wisdom that others will take refuge in later. You know, instead of hoarding all of the coins here that you were receiving from other people in the past, I think you are allowing yourself to transform almost the stinginess of knowledge. It's almost like being stingy. You know, like not only have you gone through your own experience, but you've witnessed the experiences of other people's and learned just the same without having to go through it. And I think what you're doing is you're hitting the mark now, right? You're aiming for the future. I think that being in this intimacy with the shadow. Because the two people, the two figures here don't even realize, they're so invested in the physical act of being with each other that they don't even realize that they're chained. They don't even realize they're surrounded by shadow. They're surrounded by demons. All they care about is the physical lust or the physical attraction, the chemistry that they have with each other, that they're laying at the foot of the devil, having sex, right? There's nothing but lust and attraction to where they don't even see the shadow that they're in. And ultimately it leads to impoverished energy. And realizing that you're not alone inside that energetic poverty. I feel like, especially with this card, that if you are not careful with who you get close to in energy, you end up carrying a lot of baggage. The weight is heavy. The weight is heavy. I think that what you're learning is, one, to remember that you haven't learned it all, that there's more to learn. Because if there's this ignorance, and it might be the wrong word, but if there's this ignorance, thinking that you've healed so much and that you've taught others how to heal because you've healed from a certain experience, that you forgot that you're a student. Spirit's going to ask you to be humble, to see further, and to let go of all of the baggage that you're holding, the wounds that you're holding, right? The shadows that you're holding, because at some point you gave up love. You gave up love to be cold because it hurt. You gave up love because it proved to hurt in your mind. Being in love made you vulnerable to pain. When really it wasn't love that made you vulnerable to pain. It was your wounds. And if you think that because you gave up love that you can't be wounded, you'd be mistaken. You would be mistaken. You're a servant to the divine, and the divine serves you. And if you need to let go, then you need to let go. Be in the awareness that what you've learned so far has helped others to a certain extent. But you could be of better service the more you allow yourself to be open to further education of a spiritual nature, right? There's more than this. So, what is the guidance then? The why. Because I feel like if you don't learn this lesson, it could actually get rather dicey, to be fair. Okay. Comma of Kali. Card number 38. Card number 38. So let's see. Let's read some of this for you. It says, 𝗗𝗏 of Kali. She is completely and utterly in love with your divine essence, and in her love bestows endless gifts. Your path need not be one of endless effort. Connecting with pleasure as a path of personal empowerment with an intention to bring spiritual benefit to the collective through softening and opening your heart is an act of worshiping the divine feminine. Relax into the presence of what is as you slow your pace and make swifter progress. 𝗗𝗏 is a Sanskrit word that refers to the sweet stuff of life, pleasure, emotional fulfillment, and being completely present so we can experience life through all of the senses. So, it is also sensuality, physical vibrancy. Without the quality of 𝗗𝗏, our experience of life can become dry, bleak, and intimidating. A joyless existence with simply more tasks to be completed. If we are feeling exhausted, lacking in the qualities of delight and lightness of heart, then we've become deficient in 𝗗𝗏, sacred pleasure. In the realm of the goddess, the enjoyment of life is a sacred act of devotion, gratitude, and celebration. In the throes of profound challenge and transformation, we can feel disconnected from our joyfulness. It's as though it were akin to the bright days of summer, and we are midwinter wondering how it ever was that we could frolic about in barely anything, when we now feel the need to cover ourselves with abundant protective layers. This is to be expected during times of intense suffering, when we are dealing with an issue that has elicited grief or anger. Yet, if we allow our minds to remain open to the possibility of joyfulness and pleasure, they can find their way through like the sun breaking through clouds to bring us comfort. The oracle can indicate not only a more pleasurable way of being as a part of your future, but also an offering of pleasure now. Even if you are struggling to ease the strain and make the way easier overall. Accessing pleasure requires embodiment, a connection with the senses and the subtle nuances of feeling and beauty. Through embodiment, it is easier to receive healing. It can manifest through the uplifting scent of aromatherapy, the warmth of a shower, gratitude for a safe and comfortable place to sleep, the sumptuousness of warm clothes or a satisfying meal, the delight of playful silliness in animals, the nutty sense of humor of a beloved human, the simple appreciation for the flow of the breath, or through the openness of being that spontaneously occurs in response to an expansive vista of trees and mountains. 𝗗𝗏 is the spiritual practice of presence that leads us into joy, even ecstasy and bliss. It is the juiciness of feeling truly alive. If we have complicated or confused attitude toward pleasure, the natural need for it can be denied or repressed. Yet, it will not disappear. It will arise in some indulgence, addiction, or peculiarity of behavior, which creates suffering because it is not the natural expression of the natural need. The Kali of 𝗗𝗏 helps us to reconnect to our need for pleasure and its healthy expression. The oracle speaks of a gift entering your life from the will of the goddess. It is an invitation to relax and receive. Sometimes we may unconsciously attribute divine will with intentions to demand more and more of us, yet divine will has our best interests at heart. When we need to develop strength, it will certainly provide the experiences necessary for us to do so, but it also provides sweetness and pleasure, which we can embrace or not, using our free will. The oracle speaks of a need to embrace pleasure, the many gifts of the goddess. This is not an indulgence. It can actually help you make progress on your spiritual path. To be able to embrace joyfulness as a gift, it provides us with relief and release when the path has been truly difficult. It is the summer to the soul's winter. To grow, we need both. The 𝗗𝗘𝗥𝗦𝗛 is a message that we should not discard our need for pleasure. So much of what society promotes as pleasure is little more than disembodied escapism that creates further suffering rather than healing. The natural and enhancing experiences of pleasure, however, are a mystical medicine. We can only access it through presence, spontaneity, and connection to ourselves and life. The karma of Kali is genuinely healing. That is how we recognize sacred pleasure, through its effects. It has far-reaching positive consequences and leads to more energy, commitment, and discipline as a natural response to the alleviation of excess pressure. This teaching is not about becoming hedonistic or pursuing pleasure at any cost without wisdom or benefit at all. Instead, the oracle asks you to engage with pleasure as an act of worshiping the goddess. When divine worship is genuine, it doesn't add to the suffering of the world, but aids relief. To understand this, we can give up the notion of pleasure as selfish and begin to associate it with what is sacred. The oracle is to bring comfort. It speaks to the forthcoming grace of pleasure in your life and your capacity to truly be with it as an act of blissful divine devotion. This is about reflecting on moments in your life where you felt genuine joy and gratitude in your heart, that you were grateful that you got to experience it. Right? The pleasure we take in making a little baby giggle and laugh. The pleasure that we feel witnessing the safety and the comfort that our pets feel in our presence when we're loving them. The gratitude that is expressed from others when we take a moment of being present for them. That it feels good to see them shift from sad to, at the very least, optimistic. Right? Pleasure is not a hedonistic thing. We've been taught that pleasure is sex, and pleasure is getting drunk, and pleasure is winning an argument, and pleasure is a rush, but it's not. True pleasure, true divine pleasure, comes from experiencing life in the now moment and being so grateful for it. Pleasure is witnessing the season shift from winter to spring, to feel the weather warming and know that we're moving into a new season of life. That's pleasure, right? Pleasure is the feeling that we get when we're making a difference in the world. It's not the other lower vibrations of things. It's not this, this devil. It's not this. We don't get pleasure carrying around our baggage. We don't get pleasure attracting trauma bonds. We don't get pleasure limiting ourselves in the world. This is a nod to be present and to refocus on what is available to you to witness and hold gratitude for. And just because the devil is not showing up with our perceived or taught forms of pleasure, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We're taught that if we don't have these things, or we're not doing these things, or we're not connecting with people in that way, that there must be something wrong with us. There's no pleasure in life. And that's a lie. And that's a lie. So I have faith if this reading caught you and you were drawn to it, that you needed the reminder that pleasure, true divine pleasure, is not what you thought it was or what you were taught it was. It's something much more beautiful than that. And that is the whole reason why you went through what you went through before, and why you'll be going through what you're going through after. This is the lesson that needed to be learned. All right. So my love and support is with you always, and I will catch you next time. Take care.